Good morning, everyone. I wanted to hop on here and briefly share some things that have been going through my mind the last 24 hours surrounding the Canada school shooting and what these families of the survivors, as well as the innocent lives taken, might possibly be going through. So, a little bit of my experience. In 1995, my vibrant, beautiful 24-year-old baby sister was with her husband, first time leaving my nephew, who was just an infant at the time. He would have been around 8-9 months old. And they had booked a houseboat with several other couples, and they were just taking a mini vacation on Lake Shasta, near Mount Shasta in the Redding, California area. And they hadn't been out on the lake very long when suddenly a horrific episode that would later claim the life of my sister occurred. And I try not to relive that any more than I have to. And for those of you that want to know more about what happened, you can find her story. It made national news. You can just do a Google search. 24-year-old victim, houseboating accident, 1995 on Lake Shasta, and you will be able to find the link to that story, I believe. The Safe Boating Advocacy Group, which has a Facebook page, every year honors my sister on the day of her accident. So anyway, nothing prepared my family for what we were going to see when we arrived at the trauma unit where my sister had been life flighted to. We did not recognize my sister. Her injuries were very horrific. Just to touch a little bit on what happened is she was sucked into the propeller. So anyway, I don't want to go into that too much. The reason I'm talking and discussing this is because for those families right now, I believe there's at least one young victim fighting for her life from the Canada school shooting. She is quite the hero. But at any rate, what her family may be going through right now. I know for our family, when we arrived at the hospital and met with her team of doctors and nurses, we were told early on, I believe, well, when we first got there, she was still in surgery. She underwent I believe it was a 13 or 15 hour surgery, fighting to save her life. And so when we eventually were able to get some information from her team of doctors and nurses, basically we were told, well, if she survives the next 24 hours, her prognosis is even better, and so forth and so forth. And eventually, 2 days went by, 3 days went by, 4 days went by, 5 days went by, and my sister was still fighting diligently to survive. And so in between all of that, you as a family are going through several emotions, at least we did. So you're going through the emotions of shock, just shock that something horrific like this has happened to one of your loved ones. And then you're on that roller coaster ride constantly, because 1 minute you're being told it looks good. The next minute you're being told, well, the survival odds are not good. And so our family spent the next week on that roller coaster. And unfortunately, at the end of it all, my sister did not survive, and she succumbed to her injuries. Now, I am praying, as so many of us are, for a much better outcome for this young, vibrant child that is fighting for her life right now, that she survives to be able to tell her story. But more importantly, my concern after the fact is making sure that the family receives the trauma support, grief advocacy work platform, access to the services that they're going to need, because the other side of this quite possibly can be what my husband and I now have come to recognize in our own children. Also, more than my sister's death had a horrible impact on our whole family, as you can imagine, but predominantly on her nieces and nephews as well, because they were her world, and my children were very much connected to my sister. And the hardest part is my husband and I made the decision to not allow our children to go in and see her. And now, 30 plus years later, my children have expressed the trauma related to that, and some of the anger that they have felt towards me for not allowing them to go in and see my sister. But at the time when you're going through this horrific event, you also think that you don't want your children to see their loved one in an unrecognizable condition, just in case the worst case scenario occurs, which in my sister's case it did. I did not want my children growing up remembering their aunt that way. So we made the decision, or I did, and along with my other sisters, they didn't let their children in to see her either. Now, also fast forward to 2002, when we lost our daughter in an automobile accident. She was 18. Crystal was so much like my sister, so vibrant. There wasn't a person that didn't meet my sister or Crystal who didn't instantly love them, because they were the type of people that always wanted others to feel good about themselves. So at any rate, when our daughter was taken so suddenly in that situation, my husband and I, as you can imagine, as most parents would, were in shock, we're in grief, anger, crying, and just trying to survive. And so fast forward to what we know today, we didn't recognize survivor's remorse, as I've talked about in my previous videos, in our children. And so, again, the reason that I'm speaking from the heart on back to this school shooting is that there are going to be many that I have no doubt will have some measure of guilt for surviving. And so that is why I am here. That is what my Healing with Grief advocacy work is all about, is lending support, helping families navigate all of this mess when it's surrounding grief of any kind, sudden loss, and making sure that they are recognized and they get the support that they need. And I have two amazing therapists that I have personally worked with over this last 9 months, just to help me move past some of the grief and guilt I still have all these years later after the loss of my sister, my daughter, and then also my father. He died 5 years prior to my sister dying, and he was only 49 and died of a massive heart attack. So all of those things really caused so much trauma. And so, being 63 years old now, I recognized the importance of doing my own work to recover and be able to navigate the childhood trauma that I still deal with. And so, in closing, what I wanted to say is that I would love to be able to provide all of this wonderful support free of charge to anybody who needs it. And so that's where all of you are going to come in. I am going to need the help of all of you wonderful family and friends to donate to my fund so that I can continue to provide the materials, the resources, whatever is needed at the time when tragedies hit. And so if you are watching this video, also please like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Again, my advocacy platform is #HealingWithGrief#. And I just want to, again, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy days to watch and listen to my content. I actually had a phone interview yesterday with an amazing consultant, and in the future, my Healing with Grief story is going to be featured on one of his podcasts. So in the future, he hopes to have me on his show to tell my story. And so in the meantime, also, I will add my GoFundMe link in the comments section of my video contents. And as always, if you know anyone that could use my support and help, please feel free to reach out to me. And as always, much love to all of you, and I hope you are having an amazing Thursday. And be sure to take care of yourselves and especially your mental health. Bye for now.